At 12:51 p.m. local time in Myanmar. That's 6:21 GMT, the time of Friday's earthquake. Experts say the likelihood of finding survivors drops dramatically after 72 hours. I'm Charles Philadesma.
There's staffing cuts at the FDA. AP's Lisa Dwyer.
As they ready to leave work, some workers at the Food and Drug Administration were told to pack their laptops Monday and prepare for the possibility that they will not be back. Across the Department of Health and Human Services, nervous employees are waiting to see whether pink slips will arrive in their inboxes. Mass firings are expected after Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. last week announced a massive reorganization of the department of 82,000 workers. The changes will result in 20,000 fewer jobs overall. About 10,000 will be eliminated through layoffs. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
Singer Kid Rock says he'd be happy to see a cap on aftermarket ticket prices after President Trump signed an executive order yesterday that says he'll help curb ticket scalping.
You know, they come in to get all the good tickets to your favorite shows you want to go to, and then they're relisted immediately for sometimes a 400% or 500% markup. And the artists don't see any of that money.
This is AP News. There's a new device that helps translate thoughts into real-time speech. AP correspondent Marcela Sanchez has more.
A new device could put a voice to the thoughts in our brain. Scientists say it would help those unable to speak. The device is in the experimental phase, but has already proven successful. The new study described testing the device on a 47-year-old quadriplegic woman who had not spoken for 18 years after a stroke. In an AP interview, Gopala Anumanchipalli, co-author of the study published in the Nature Neuroscience Journal, says the device translates thoughts into real-time spoken words.
So this is a very naturalistic process in the sense that she doesn't have to wait to hear her voice.
The device was surgically implanted into the woman's brain during the clinical trial. Researchers built a synthesizer that used a recording of her voice before her injury to create speech similar to hers. More research is needed, but Anumanchipalli believes the device could be available to patients within a decade. I'm Marcela Sanchez.
I'm Haya Panjwani, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see increasing cloud cover here for today with a high in the mid-40s. Winds out of the east around 5 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. Tonight, a chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy with temperatures holding steady. By Wednesday, chance for showers and storms, cloudy, high of 70 degrees. Thursday, mostly sunny skies, a high of 58. Friday, chance for rain, late cloudy, high of 53. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 36.
Wendy's $3 breakfast deal is a bacon or sausage egg croissant plus small seasoned potatoes for $3. It's the breakfast that don't miss. So if you did miss Wendy's breakfast, don't imagine. Fresh cracked eggs, sizzling sausage, crispy bacon, and block out those hot, buttery, flaky croissants. Croissants don't really make a sound, but if they did, for a breakfast that don't miss, Wendy's is that breakfast. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's $3 breakfast deal.
Limited time only at participating U.S. Wendy's. Select a request $3 breakfast deal to obtain discount. Not valid for a la carte or combo orders.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that will focus on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Tuesday morning, progressives, and welcome to the what do we call it? We'll say April 1st, Fool's/Day 2025 edition of Choose Views. 773-763-9278. Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, and iHeartRadio. And, of course, email me at richard@WCPT820.com. Catch me on Substack as well. And also catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast. Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can go there. You can also make sure to catch the Choose Views short versions and long versions. Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive, most definitely. And Patty Vasquez driving you home. Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, Out Chicago on our other shows, and check out heartlandsignal.com because of the good stuff that's over there. And speaking of Joan and Patty, today Joan will be talking to Atlantic staff writer Russell Berman, David Hochberg, Vice President of Lending for Team Hochberg at Homeside Financial, and Heartland Signal's Richard Eberwine, or we call him Rich Eberwine, with 3 stories you might have missed on our digital newsroom platform. Live, local, and progressive weekdays, 2 to 5 p.m. Central here on WCPT. That's Joan Esposito. Tonight, driving it home, Patty will be getting a Wisconsin update from Appleton radio host Ben Kamenos. Driving it home with Patty Vasquez. Weekdays 5 to 7 Central, WCPT AM 820, Heartland Signal website, tune in, YouTube, and Facebook. Check her out there. Tomorrow's show, we'll be talking with State Senator Sarah Feigenholtz and State Representative Carol Ammons, along with our good man and good friend Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63. So, speaking of guests, today we will have Kristen Carl, who will be talking with us about the American consumer getting a bad deal when it comes to taxes. She's part of the Fair Share America project, and I'm looking forward to chatting with her. She's also an op-ed contributor with our Heartland Signal newsroom, so you'll want to plug in for that. And then later in the show, State Representative Debbie Meyers-Martin, who represents south suburban part of the city and south suburbs, will be with us in the 7:30 hour. So Christian will be with us at 7 o'clock, and Representative Meyers-Martin will be with us in the 7:30 hour. So looking forward to those guests being with us. Sorry, Dev. And Dev had me cracking up already this morning. Devin's dry humor. Every now and again, he'll slip one in on you and get you. And he threw a couple at me this morning about what the folks on the right are not doing versus what's coming out of their mouths. So there you go. But this second half of this first hour, we have some interesting clips that Devin's helped put together that will certainly they'll do a little bit of everything to you. So hopefully they'll help push you to action because of some of the comments and the positions that people are taking. Yesterday I talked about why I think it's really important that we stay solid and we hold ground and we do not move to the center. And I know that was a conversation that I started in terms of talking about Governor Gavin Newsom and his appearance on the Bill Maher show, et cetera, et cetera. And we had a really good conversation with Mary and another one with Naomi out in Santa Monica, California. The point of all this is I'm going to speak to that again today in terms of us holding the line, holding the position, and making it inviting for folks to come to where we are and I know the phrase is go to where the people are, but where the people are is not to the further right. That's not where people are. So going there contradicts the whole phrase of go to where the people are. The people are center left, they're not center right. And they're moving in some cases more to the left than they are to the right. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. We've got some folks that have chimed in that space, and I want to share those things with you. Also talk a little bit about unions, and we're going to talk about a couple of folks who got some really strong observations about where we are when it comes to what's happening with Trump's economic collapses that are being put on the shoulders of regular everyday people. And I've got some comments to share with you about Democratic Party accomplishments and this conversation around Trump and his third term BS. So we'll get to that in a moment. But for now, let's chat a little bit about some of the things that we found at Shoes Views News on April 1st, April Fool's Day, 2025. So there are those that are believing that tariffs are turbocharging new car sales. And I'll tell you how this angles out. Americans have swarmed to dealerships to get ahead of the 25% levies on imported vehicles and parts that are due to take effect tomorrow. quote, motivated buyers are driving up new car sales. That was not the intent of the tariffs, by the way, with first quarter sales expected to have risen 1% to 3.8 million vehicles, the fastest pace since 2021, according to the car shopping website Edmunds. The average new car transaction was worth $47,300 in February, the site says. Now, the real depth on that story is people are doing that because they're predicting that the cost of purchasing a vehicle that's not made in the United States will go up dramatically, and that's a reality because of these crazy tariffs. Mixed signals, speaking of tariffs, on the agenda. The White House is set to unveil the new tariff strategy tomorrow, but key details of the plan appear to remain under fierce debate. Despite recently suggesting he may be, quote, more lenient, Donald Trump is now pushing for a bigger, more aggressive type of levy, according to sources in the Wall Street Journal. For stock markets, and uncertainty is a nightmare, and it truly is. Let me repeat that. For the stock markets, the uncertainty is a nightmare. While Goldman Sachs warns of a hawkish trade stance could raise the risk of a recession. And there are many economists that would agree. The mortgage industry, online mortgage provider Rocket Mortgage, and this is an important one for those who are looking to purchase a home, said Monday that it's agreed to acquire competitor Mr. Cooper for $9.4 billion. The all-stock deal will create one of the largest mortgage companies in the United States, responsible for 1 in 6 mortgages. Earlier this month, Rocket agreed to purchase real estate listings platform Redfin for $1.75 billion. I'm not crazy about the consolidation because that's going to lead to them having opportunities to flood the market with just the product that they want and the rates that they want accordingly. So, and then last but not least, the Yum Brands, which you guys may be familiar with. The CEO is about to retire after 6 years at the helm. Yum Brands CEO David Gibbs, announced yesterday that he plans to retire in the first quarter of 2026. Gibbs joined the KFC, Taco Bell, and Pizza Hut parent in 1989, rising through the ranks before taking the chief executive position in 2020. Yum Brands said it has formed a succession planning committee that Gibbs will continue to lead while it searches for his replacement. So, KFC, Taco Bell, and Pizza Hut CEOs kind of moving on. All right, guys, a little bit of what's happening over at Choose Views News this morning, this April 1st, 2025. Before we go to the break, I'm going to talk about something. When we come back from the break, we've got a funny clip that Devin and I put together that you just got to hear. But I want to talk about this whole conversation around, what the Dems are doing or not doing, and who's fighting and who's not, who's fighting and who's not. I think that we have to give a little bit of a tip of the hat to Senator Cory Booker. And when you guys call in today, we can chat about that. But I want to give a little bit of a tip of the hat to Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey for his filibustering last night on the Senate floor. I think it started around 7 p.m. And his two key comments in his opening were, I'm going to do this as long as I'm physically able to do it. And secondly, I plan on disrupting what needs to be disrupted, and that's the way that this body has functioned. I guess the third thing would say, in line with that, is getting into some, as John Lewis would have put it, good trouble. So Senator Booker is stepping, quote unquote, literally to the mic and taking the position that we're going to talk about these things by hook or crook, and in his way, in his eloquent way and very deliberative way, he made it clear last night that he wants to send a message out to people that I'm not standing for this. I'm not sitting idly by to do nothing. And I watched a good portion of it last night, and the networks did, or the outlets did cover it to a great extent. So kudos to Senator Cory Booker for him making the decision to take a stand and fight. And this is one way in which you do fight. You put some sand in the engine, and the mechanics of the Senate, and how it's this most, quote, deliberative body has to do a better job of leading the country in this space. So I don't know what the outcome will be, but what I do hope comes out of this is because, he's not doing it for the recognition. I believe he knows that it has to be done, and it's way past time. And he probably recognizes that and all that he could have maybe done it sooner, whatever the case may be. He's doing it now. So we have to support the Democrats that are fighting. And I know that we can be very critical here, but I say all the time we can be critical and complimentary and push them forward at the same time. So with Senator Booker, if you want to make a phone call of positivity today, you might want to reach out to his office and say, good work for you, good on you for the work that you're doing, and encourage other senators to do the same thing. This is the reason that I said when people have asked like who, what, when, and where in terms of Senate minority leader, that his name comes up for me. Chris Murphy's does as well, but his name most definitely comes up for me. And I think that, frankly, Tammy Duckworth's name is also one that should be thrown into the hat in terms of senators that can get the work done and that can lead. So that's where we are, guys. We're going to take a quick little break. Devin's navigating a little bit of everything this morning. But let's take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
Every 40 seconds, a child is reported missing. That's 2,000 children every single day. It's a heart-wrenching reality that we can no longer ignore. Find the Children is a non-profit organization dedicated to helping find missing kids. You can be a part of their mission by donating your unwanted vehicle, running or not. Call 1-800-775-5622. We guarantee that you will receive the maximum tax deduction. We provide fast, free pickup with 24-hour response. Call 1-800-775-5622. Find the Children provides crucial resources to help find missing children and educational materials to teach kids how to recognize and avoid predators. Our recovery programs have a proven track record of reuniting kids with their families. It's time to act. Donate your unwanted or unused car. Help us build a world where every child is safe. Pick up the phone and call 1-800-775-5622. Together, we can bring these kids home safely. This advertisement was paid for by Cars R Us and Find the Children.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Good morning. You're waking up with Richard Chew.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
We're live and ready to hear from you. Text or call us now at 773-763-9278. Same number. Simple as that. Let's get the conversation going on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, Progressives, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. So today is April 1st. It's Election Day down in Florida in these special elections and other places, obviously, with the judges race up in Wisconsin, Ms. Crawford. Anything you guys can do last minute, it's going to be beneficial and helpful to get those folks across the finish line. How powerful it would be to get wins down in Florida. And I saw an interview last night with Josh Weil on MSNBC, and he's very, very excited and confident. We spoke to Gabe Valamont last week, so fingers crossed. And like I said, anything you can do last minute certainly will be helpful. And just we have, there are tough races. We know that. And at the same time, both of these candidates have said something that's very, very similar, meaning Gabe Valamont and Josh Weil, that the folks in the district are upset and unhappy, knowing that it's still a highly red district. They're upset and unhappy with the folks that are there or not there, and the candidates that are running, and what they've not done on the right. So there's an opportunity if the people there can wake the heck up. Maybe we'll see the change, and getting to a one vote difference in the House would be huge. And we know that's, like I said last week and earlier this week, I should say again, that's why Lee Stefanik got pulled from the ambassadorship. Let's keep our fingers crossed, and with the other hand, let's maybe dial some numbers for the folks in those two races, and of course for Judge Crawford. I also wanted to say as a reminder to you guys in terms of the difference between the current administration and the previous. Whenever there is any kind of a crisis of any sort, the Biden administration jumped on board. They had people that knew what they were doing to help with the crisis even as recently as the fires in California. But the point I want to make is about fires. You're not hearing anything because of the chaos and the turmoil and the stupidity. We're not seeing anything on a federal level in terms of the fires that are taking place in the Carolinas right now. I'm not hearing anything. We should hear something. It shouldn't be, this is too important, and a safety issue and all the rest. People's lives are impacted. We should know. There should be, and it's not a question of the media not covering it. It's a question of the White House holding press conferences to talk about it. But Caroline Leavitt is too busy spinning out in front of the White House and getting snarky with reporters that ask her tough questions to really be prepared to talk about it and bring to the table what the administration is doing, which tells me that they're not really doing a lot. And whatever it is that they're doing, it's not particularly effective. But that's just the difference, and that's what unfortunately got voted for. I'm going to try to stop saying we voted for, because Devin and I didn't vote for this. Y'all, those over on the right, voted for this. And I love what Representative Mueller said yesterday about he lies. He's lying. She just said it as it was. She didn't joke around and, play poker face with it. She just said what she had to say. And speaking of face, I did that intentionally, Devin. Devin knows where we're headed. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about some more serious stuff. But I caught this clip that I just felt like I have to share with you guys. And you may be familiar with comedian Roy Wood Jr. And if you want to laugh, I'll send this one to you. I'll email it to you. Just send me an email at richard@wcpt820.com. And we'll get it to you. It's got a couple of profane statements in there, but my man Devin was able to put his magical editing prowess on there and clean it up for you. But I think you guys will appreciate what we're going to call Mar-a-Lago face.
Does anyone up here know what other surgical trend is starting to take over during Trump's second term?
Lobotomy?
The answer, it's a beauty trend called Mar-a-Lago face. The hallmarks of Mar-a-Lago face include exaggerated Botox, visible facial fillers, and extreme tanning. I'm going to show you a picture of somebody pre-Mar-a-Lago face, and you have to guess who they are. First up, who is this fresh-faced beauty?
It looks like one of the Brady Bunch children.
That's first daughter-in-law and recording artist Laura Trump.
Oh, my God!
Now,
this is exactly what the I wanted to see.
You over there hating, but that face got her a job on Fox News. So.
I'm not hating. I love this. This rules. I demand to see 8 more of these.
Of course, thank you, Devin, for editing out the profanity. But it is, I think it's hilarious. I think what's as hilarious as what you can't see because you can only hear the clip is the reactions of the folks on the panel. Obviously, the laughter behind it, and it is. I was actually shocked, Evan, when I looked at the two different pictures. It's astonishingly different. It's shockingly different between the pre-Botox Mar-a-Lago face and the current of Laura Trump. And I love how Roy Wood said, first daughter-in-law and what did he say, musical artist or something like that? Yes. Yeah, right. But anyhow, Roy was being the comedian that he is. I don't pick on people when it comes to their looks. That's just not my thing. But I will say that prior to whatever treatment, I don't know what it was, but whatever the treatment was, the prior to look was a lot better than the post. And I'm not passing judgment. I'm just saying, here's two choices. Pick one or the other. I'm picking the prior. A lot more. I don't know. In any event, the humor behind it, and I reposted a picture that was sent to me that was also kind of this Mar-a-Lago face thing. So that's become a thing, I guess. And there you go. But little laughter for you guys this morning in the seriousness that we live in at this time. I want to talk about this conversation around Trump in a third term. And so I was fortunate enough to receive a little bit of information on this. And what I will read to you is just kind of what was sent to me, and I think it's kind of spot on. With all of the blowhard BS that 34 times XCF, in other words, is spewing about running for a third term as president, the 22nd Amendment to the United States Constitution is pretty clear. No person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice, and no person who has held the office of president or acted as president for more than 2 years of a term to which some other person was elected president shall be elected to the office of the president more than once. There is no place in that text that says anything about non-consecutive terms or running as president only to have the presidential candidate resign unless it's 2 years after that person is inaugurated as president. By January 2031, Donald Trump would be 84, almost 85 years old if J.D. Vance were to resign. So I want to give a shout out to my man, Kurt Herner, for sending me that. And remind everybody to read when this administration starts throwing out these things, just go read the Constitution. You know, I'm going to talk a little bit tomorrow or maybe Thursday on American illiteracy. That will help you guys have a little bit of a better understanding as to how we got to where we are when it comes to those who are deep in the MAGA tank, and frankly, some people that are center right. But thanks to Kurt for sending me this third term garbage that they're trying to throw out. And that, you know what this is? Just pay attention. It's a bouncing ball of distraction. Y'all, it is. Devin's nodding his head profusely. It's a bouncing ball of distraction, this third term. Gets people off their mark. Don't do that. Then this is another don't fall for the okie doke. Please, y'all, don't fall for the okie doke. So just to let you know, let's see what Jim has to say real quickly before we go to break. Hey, Jim, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Rich. I was just thinking in days of yore, a judge would take a bribe. It's a gray lord, for instance, or take a bribe for 10 or 20 grand, and then all it would affect is one defendant. I'd be walking past the courthouse, and I could care less if he took the 10 or 20 grand and let the defendant go or whatever he was going to do with them. But now, look at the prices. They've gone sky high. And the problem with it is now, they affect the whole region, especially in Wisconsin. It affects their voting rights, you name it. I mean, the old days, they take a bribe for 10 or 20 grand. It'd be one person. You know, you got to get off that.
It'd be for that case or that person that needed a little bit of help. And but now, the bribes are broad and wide. They're wide and deep in terms of who's impacted by them. That's a great point.
Yeah, and I was under the impression as a kid that they were supposed to be impartial. I knew a couple of judges, and they were vehement on that. You know, they were going to be impartial. You don't go into a courtroom and say I'm a Democrat or a Republican.
Right.
Who uses that strategy? But just as Musk is trying to buy the seat, I'm holding on to my seat for tonight's results. And thanks for taking my call, Rich. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff, for calling. Yeah, Jim's right. Right or wrong, or however one views it, that used to be, what we know in terms of the bribes that went toward judges were for singular things, not to an entire elections. But like I said last week, and I posted this on social media, I would love for Elon Musk to set his foot in the state of Wisconsin. He might end up getting yanked by the authorities because they have the right to at least detain him. So there you go. All right, guys, let's take a quick break. 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
Thanks to our loyal WCPT listeners, the WCPT 20th anniversary broadcast is officially sold out. But you can still enjoy the broadcast by listening to WCPT Radio on Saturday, May 3rd from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Hal Sparks will kick things off at 11 a.m., then hand it off to WCPT hosts Richard Chu, Joan Esposito, Patty Vasquez, and Scott Duff at 1 o'clock. Surprise guests from WCPT's 20-year history will also join us. Scroll through 20 years of WCPT Radio with legendary interviews, shows, and pictures on the WCPT 820 website. WCPT's live broadcast is sponsored by Max and Benny's Restaurant in Northbrook, Fazio Insurance, Smart 265, and Southland Friends of Labor. It's the WCPT 20th anniversary live broadcast Saturday, May 3rd from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Only on WCPT 820, Chicago's only progressive talk radio station for 20 years.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see increasing cloud cover here for today with a high in the mid-40s. Winds out of the east around 5 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. Tonight, a chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy with temperatures holding steady. By Wednesday, chance for showers and storms, cloudy, high of 70 degrees. Thursday, mostly sunny skies, a high of 58. Friday, chance for rain, late cloudy, high of 53. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 36.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
It's Chu's View with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Hey, progressives, welcome back to Choose View, 773-763-9278. Okay, so I was reminded that Musk was in Wisconsin yesterday. Is that true? If so, then the Wisconsin... the Wisconsin folks didn't do their job, in my opinion. And I know that there were people that said that from a speculative standpoint that because he got away with something like this in Pennsylvania, that authorities were afraid. That's the other feed that I got, that they were afraid to go after him in Wisconsin. So, okay, there you go. Wishful thinking, but they didn't decide to press the button on Elon. But that just goes to show you once again, Dems have got to stop playing pity pat. They got to be willing to lean in hard and take action. I said that so many times. Take action. Who cares? This is one of those moments where, you know, if they didn't do anything because they were fearful of what the repercussions would have been, who cares? How many people in the country would have loved to have seen Wisconsin authorities roll up on Elon and say, "Hey, man, you can't do that," and at least detain him. Just for an hour. He can come out and say whatever the hell he wants to after but people would go, yeah, that's what we want to see. Those people who are out at the various rallies would love to see that. And that's what needs to be seen. I don't need to be convinced about what he's doing with this Doge thing. It's obvious. Their objective is to harm people. It is not to help anybody. That's of a working class, middle class. Even, let's to be honest with you, and I have some data here if we get to it, on folks that are in, you know, higher than what is considered middle class categories. I mean, this is the question that folks have got to ask themselves. What's happening with monies that are in different folks' 401k plans, in different folks' investment plans? So, anyhow, all right. So, one of the clips that we have that speaks to the inadequacy and the mediocrity of the Republicans in the House of Representatives, and I'm talking from Mike Johnson through and through. And that's some of the folks that are chairs of the various committees. Marjorie Taylor Greene had circles run around her the other day by Representative Jasmine Crockett. And we played a clip last week from Representative Melanie Stansbury of New Mexico, who is becoming one of those voices, one of those star voices that's not taking it anymore. And she's speaking out at every corner and intersection when it comes to these knuckleheads on the right. And I want to play a clip. There's going to be some pauses, not the clip itself, but there'll be some points of silence if you haven't seen or heard this one. But it speaks to the inadequacy, the mediocrity, just the shameful, disgusting inability for those on the right to do a doggone thing that's beneficial to the country at large. And Devin has helped us put this together. So I may jump in at one point just to let you know when we're at that point when it becomes not inaudible, but seemingly silent because of the exchange that takes place between Representative Stansbury and Committee Chair Comer.
If Donald Trump or Elon Musk decided that an agency and its operations was unnecessary, under your bill, they could just eliminate it. Is that correct?
Yeah, it requires Congress to vote on it.
Mr. Chairman, as I read it, your bill is giving the congressional authority to the executive to do it without Congress.
No, that's not true.
Can you
You're misinterpreting the bill.
Can you please point us to the language in the bill that retains Congress's authority?
It requires a privileged resolution in Congress.
Can you please point us to the page and the line number that requires congressional consent for reorganization of the federal government?
Where in the bill does it require creating privileges? Yeah, there's the long section of the bill.
This is the silence we were talking about.
Sections 908 and 909.
In sections 908 and 909 of Title V.
Which this bill amends.
Which is
Which this bill is amending. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Section 908 says striking December 31st, 1985. Can you please refer to the language that retains Congress's authority under the United States Constitution to rein in the executive to stop it from eliminating unnecessary duties, reducing federal employees, amending rules and regulations, and eliminating executive departments, agencies, independent establishments, offices, or officers of the executive branch?
If my colleague would yield. Just let me answer that question. This bill amends Title V, Section 908 and 909.
Which retains congressional's role. Again, Mr. Chairman, can you please point us to the place in your bill where it retains Congress's constitutional authority to rein in the executive branch?
You're intentionally misrepresenting the bill.
Mr. Chairman, I'm reading the bill, and I'm asking you as the sponsor to point to us where your bill, which you are trying to pass through this committee today, retains the authority of Congress.
It changes the date to 2026. It amends the date.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just going to read from your bill. I've got 40 seconds here. It allows
the bill amends current law. What you're looking at, what you're looking for already exists as law.
Mr. Chairman, your bill, as introduced here, allows the executive to eliminate any executive department, agency, independent establishment, or corporation within the United States, an office or an officer, to essentially repeal, amend any regulation, and to eliminate anything that the executive branch determines to be unnecessary. And I strongly oppose this bill because this is a blank check to Donald Trump and Elon Musk to continue to dismantle the federal government.
And there you go. So obviously there were those large pauses in there. We didn't make them. That's exactly what happened in that part of the testimony, that part of the committee meeting. And Comer had no idea what was going on. I mean, talk about the joke earlier from Roy Wood Jr. about surgeries that are going on in Mar-a-Lago. Talk about lobotomy. I I mean, he had one real time. And this is so I'm going to layer this all together. And I thought about this last night. So this clip highlights, and first of all, shout out to Representative Stansbury. And someone said something to me as a clip about Senator Booker. Yes, call him, but also send him money. Basically, someone said, Richard, it's great to give him a call, but send him some money as well. Send money to those who are doing the work. Same thing with Representative Stansbury. Call her, give her her props and support. And if you can send money to help with her campaigning, great. But right now in the current elections, we need to stay focused on those two in Florida. All right, let me come back to where she is in this space. What she's identifying is that this bill, as it's written, is essentially ceding more congressional oversight as a third leg of government, our federal government. And this is where there is trickle down. And let me explain why. I'll cite something that's taking place in Georgia. Pam Bondi tells the Justice Department to drop legal challenge to the Georgia election law. So what does that mean? It means that the U.S. Attorney General is leaning into what's taking place in Georgia as it relates to the lawsuit filed in 2021 by Joe Biden as it relates to Georgia's intention to block black voters, i.e. continuing on the trek down voter suppression. Bondi's leaning in and said the Biden administration was pushing false claims of suppression when there's evidence to state otherwise. How does that tie to this thing with Comer, is this is what Representative Stansbury is saying we don't want, is to see the government, the federal government, overreaching from the executive branch or from the judiciary, overreaching on any matter as it relates to what those branches can do. Regular person's language, this bill would give the president the ability to tell Congress what to do rather than the other way around, or to balance the things out. It would give the president restrained, authority over the Justice Department to say, I want to go after, I don't know, a particular music group because they wrote a song about me that I don't like. That's the underpinning of this bill. And it's clear that Comer does not know what's in the bill. It's his bill by name only, but not by what's inside of it. It was probably, and I'm speculating a little bit, so let me get that out of the way. It was very possibly, put it that way, written by the folks over at where? The Heritage Foundation that helped structure Project 2025. So she's absolutely right in calling him out to speak about what's actually in the bill and why it's in the bill in the first place. And the fact that he doesn't know what it is and is not able to actually speak to the questions that she's asking, and then does what mediocre dudes like this do, and that's get angry and get hostile and then try to put it back on the person that's presenting you with the facts. That's what they do when they're when they are mediocre, when they're feckless, when they don't know what the hell they're talking about. Ms. Stansbury came prepared. Representative Stansbury came prepared. She was ready. She didn't have to turn to anybody on her staff to say, what does this say? She was ready to deal with it face forward. And she was ready to deal with it in a way that made him not only look incompetent and unprepared, but also as a warning to the rest of Congress. Now, I'm going to say this as a little bit of a lead into when we come back from the break in terms of what I want to talk about. And I'll say it as a question, or state it as a question. Why in the hell would we want to move as progressive liberal Democrats in the direction of Comer and his mediocre behavior as a chairperson of a committee in Congress? Why would we want to move in that direction, or have voters move in a direction where that type of incompetency is reigning? Why would we want that? So when people say, Richard, we need to look at, and I'm talking Gavin Newsom as well, because he's obviously catching some heat right now because of his comments that he made on Bill Maher's show and prior to that. But why would we want to, by comparison, throw out the skill set that Representative Stansbury brought to that meeting for Comer? Why would we want to move our people in that direction? When we talk about illiteracy tomorrow or the next day, it'll explain how we've gone in that direction. But at this point, nah, we have to stem the tide. We have to have more of the Jasmine Crockett's and the Lauren Underwoods and the Cory Bookers and the Representative Stansbury speaking to that ineptitude that came from Comer. And also, I'll tell you another piece about this that's highly, that we should be very much aware of, is it's not just Musk who's externally pulling levers in the government. It's also still the Heritage Foundation and these right-wing think tanks. So be warned and be prepared, y'all. Let's take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
When it comes to banking, you need a bank you can trust. A bank with a rock-solid reputation and the highest integrity. A bank that gives you the attention and respect you deserve.
ABOC first opened its doors in downtown Chicago in 1922, and we've made our name on deep expertise, best-in-class service, and a strong commitment to our customers. We know the Chicago business market inside and out and can help you craft the perfect banking solution, no matter what type of business you're in.
And if you're looking for a banking partner for your labor union, we can bring the type of expertise that only comes from a bank that was founded by labor unions and still has union employees and shareholders to this day.
Whether you need a deposit account, loan, trust services, or investment management, ABOC has you covered. Let's work together to manage your finances today while planning for a better tomorrow. ABOC, a bank built on a strong foundation.
Visit ABOC.com to learn more. Member FDIC.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
It's Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
So before we went to break, I was talking about, obviously, Representative Stansbury showing, as I call it, Stansbury versus Comer, showing that ineptitude, that mediocre person that's the chair of a committee, just like Marjorie Greene is another one, mediocre chair of a committee and getting called out by people who are strong and cogent and understanding. They understand the law. They're not just hyperbolic, and they understand what's in bills, and they come prepared. That's the direction I want our party to go in, is toward people who come prepared and know the data, know the information, not ones that are having extraordinarily important and powerful legislation presented to turn into bills to then cede power to Donald Trump. And this is, and then we focus on Senator Booker and him calling out the numbers of items that he did last night. That's how it has to be. It can't be capitulation. It can't be the things that, candidly, listen, I'm going to be in somebody's corner until they give me reason to not be in their corner. And I caution Governor Gavin Newsom about spending too much time peeking down this other trail. I really do. I've said this before about people, and I think you guys know that I say this with not bravado, but just where I am in my life. If I had a conversation with Governor Newsom, I would tell him, I would ask him, why is he going in this direction? Why is he peeking down this roadway? I'd want to know first before I would have, tell him my opinions and my thoughts. But at some point, I would reach a point to say to him, listen, you have been a favored governor and politician for a while in the eyes of a lot of people. But I'm telling you, man, you might need to pump your brakes. And this sort of curiosity about what the folks on the right are doing, and this position that the Democratic Party needs to move to the center, I would caution him in that space. And I worry that the people that are around him are being sycophants and just going along with the program because they don't want to stand up to him. And so I would say to him, listen, man, you need to check yourself in this space. You're going to lose more people than you think you're going to get. And I give him my lifeguard analogy. And I mean that. I'm not coming from a position of ego. I'm just saying, just look at many people have used the phrase, and our good friend Karen Byrne uses it often, read the damn room. I don't know if he's reading the room and then closing the book, but so this is not me throwing too much shade at Governor Newsom. It's me saying, listen, man, read the room, because the governor in the country that's getting it right is our governor here in Illinois, J.B. Pritzker. He's reading the room, and then he's listening to the people in the room. So David Jolly has some thoughts about this as well, and Devin and I put together a couple of clips that I think we need to address. But before we do that, let's grab a quick call. Let's grab Robert from Wisconsin. Hey, Robert, welcome to the show.
Good morning. It's great talking to you. You are so on point this morning, and I think it goes further than the politicians. I think a lot of the problem is the consultant class.
Yep.
So whether it's the third wave people, whether it's Rahm Emanuel, whether it's David Axelrod, whether it's James Carville, this is what you hear. Oh, we got to go to the center. We got to get more conservative. We have to do this. We have to do that. Well, these guys for decades have presided over something where Democrats are losing more and more power. So obviously that's not working. And when you pull people on issues, when you take the R's and the D's out of it and you pull people on issues, the progressive issues are a winner.
Mm-hmm.
Go run on them. Be strong. Fight.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, gosh, people respect people that fight, and if you're not going to fight, then get the hell out of the way. Thank you.
Robert, hey, man, thank you for the call, and appreciate your support and contribution. You be safe, okay?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for the call. I mean, he's right. Like, if get out the way. There's a song that's got, I think it's, I'm not going to go there. I'll stop. Devin was like, no! He knew exactly where it was in my brain. And then Devin's like, no! All right, let's get to these, the David Jolly clips that Devin worked so hard to put together for us. Let's go, Dave. Let's go with those, Dev.
I'm not sure the recreation of today's Democratic Party goes through Washington. I actually think in a midterm election it goes through state houses. And here's what I share with Democratic clubs. I actually resent, and I think it's wrong, when some Democratic leaders say we have to rush to the middle, some fictional moderate point on the left-right spectrum, or we have to find threads of Trumpism that we can embrace. That's wrong. When Schumer and other elected Democrats who try to race to the middle tell their base they're wrong, no. The base is right. Some party has to stand up for the marginalized, has to fight for an economy for all people, a government that works for all people, freedom for all people, dignity for all people. I just think it's a matter of, in 26, meeting voters where they are at. What are they most concerned about? You and I are in Florida. It's an insurance crisis. It's a voucher crisis. It's abandoned public schools. It's a corruption of ethics in Tallahassee. Perhaps it's utility rates. Pick your state, Michigan, California, where we're going to see some midterm races. I think Democrats have the opportunity to show voters, we are on your side. We want to solve your problems. That's very hard in federal races where the issue is all about Donald Trump. In the state houses and other races, it's not about Donald Trump. I think Democrats are right on the issues. It's a matter of meeting voters right where they're at. I can tell you from these town halls, they're ready to do it.
Yeah, they're ready to do it. They really are. I mean, and he said it best. I can tell you from these town halls. And here's the thing that we have to understand. This is where the was it Robert that just called us? Yes. Yeah, what Robert kind of said, but I'm going to take the baton and run with it a little bit. This is where that consultancy class has got it wrong. And let me just give you a little bit of a picture, then we'll hit this other clip. There are Republicans, there are people showing up at town halls that are Republicans that are giving the business to their Republican elected candidate or representative, giving them the business. Now, that should tell the Democrats that it isn't about moving to the right. It's about taking, because it's the issues. Just stay with me, guys. The issues that now Republicans who voted for Trump and Republicans recognize, oh, wait a minute, we can't have that. Those people are saying on the right, we can't have that. So Democratic leaders need to hear that and go, if Republican voters are saying we can't have that, that ain't moving to the center. That's actually them moving to the left. Did y'all hear me? I hope that the Gavin Newsoms and the whatever, the consultancy class, I think that's what Robert said, hears that. I really do, because that's the message. Let's hit him with the second clip, Daph.
I'm not sure the struggle within the party is really over ideology. I think the Democrats can kind of be a big tent party. We saw that in the Kamala Harris race. There's enough room for Bernie and AOC, and I suppose more moderates if they're in today's Democratic Party. I think the fight over the identity is who's willing to fight against Donald Trump and the direction Republicans are taking us, and who's laying down. And I'm doing a series of town halls in the state of Florida, Katie. That is the demarcation point. They want to see, Democrats today want to see Democratic elected officials fighting. Look, if Bernie and AOC are having a rally, certainly some people are excited about their progressive ideology, but they see in Bernie and AOC fighters, people willing to take on the system, willing to take on Donald Trump and Republicans. If Chuck Schumer held a rally, they're not coming out to see him because he laid down on the budget bill. So I don't worry so much about the ideological conversations within the Democratic Party. Democrats are right on the issues. They'll figure out their message in the 26th cycle. But what Democratic voters are measuring right now is who's willing to fight for me. And I think that's where you're seeing the anger in these town halls.
It's a consistent wording and consistent language. Who is willing to fight? When you don't show up at a town hall, that means you're punking out. You're not willing to fight. And as Robert said, basically, get out of the way. And the reference I was making was the song by Ludacris, which Devin won't allow me to even say anything more, but a couple of you guys sent me text messages because you caught me. But that's right. David Jolly is saying it. Get out of the way. And the vote, listen, this is a moment where the Dems, you better get this right. I'm gonna punch something. The Republican voters that are showing up at the town halls that are giving their representatives the business are telling you what the playbook should be. It ain't moving to the right. It's moving to the left, or at least fighting for the things that are common. That now that those folks figured out, they messed around and found out that that's not what they wanted or that they thought they were voting for. And even their latent racist and sexist and nationalistic and privileged mindset got them there. They are recognizing that ain't right. And we need to move from the right to the left, at least in terms of policy. So Dems, don't mess this up. Stay with the Representative Stansburys and the representatives that are speaking out, the AOCs and the Lauren Underwoods and the Crockett's. I'm sorry, my brain's fogging for a moment here. That's where the message is. That's where the meat and the substance is. Those people are doing what David Jolly said, and that's fighting. Stay with those folks. And the people who are trying to peek down that other roadway to see what it's like over there on the right, nah, that's a kiss. That's a dangerous direction to go, you guys. It just is. And I'm hoping, I'm going to keep pushing well, first of all, I know I'm going to keep pushing this narrative. I'm hoping that Democratic leaders are hearing it. When we had Representative Nikki Brzezinski on week before last, what did I say to her? We got you. People want you to fight. They want you to push for these common issues. So there you go. We need to stay woke. We need to keep fighting in this space, and we need to get behind the people that are doing it, like she said, and like David Jolly just pointed out. So, all right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be talking with one of our great leaders in this space of what's fair, and that would be none other than Kristen Crowell. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
Get out the way. Get out the way. Get out the way.
This is a WCPT moment in labor. In the 1830s in Lowell, Massachusetts, during the rise of the textile industry, factories were hiring large groups of women ranging in ages 18 to 35 to work at their mills. The workdays were 13 hours long and had poor working conditions. By 1834, the textile market was sluggish. In response, the workers' wages were reduced by 12.5%. One of the workers, Julia Wilson, tried to organize the women to get their wages back, only to be terminated abruptly. Wilson signaled the women to strike or turn out. Over 800 women marched and signed a petition saying we will not go back into the mills to work unless our wages are continued. Ultimately, the strike failed, but they learned from their mistake and successfully battled back a rent increase on their boarding houses 2 years later. By January 1845, about a dozen of the Lowell female textile workers came together to form the Lowell Female Labor Reform Association. This would become the first organized union of women workers in American history. This has been a WCPT Moment in Labor. We're working for your rights.
From office supplies to IT essentials, Amazon Business provides tools that help you save costs and make insight-based decisions. Learn how to bring your visions to life at AmazonBusiness.com.
AP News, I'm Haya Punjwani. Employees across the massive U.S. Department of Health and Human Services began receiving notices of dismissal in a major overhaul expected to ultimately lay off up to 10,000 people. AP correspondent Julie Walker reports on a lawsuit over President Trump's executive order on elections.
President Trump's executive order seeking to overhaul the nation's elections is facing its first legal challenges. The Democratic National Committee and a pair of nonprofits filed two separate lawsuits Monday, calling the order unconstitutional and asking the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia to block it. The lawsuits argued the order violates the Constitution's Elections Clause, which gives power over election administration to the states rather than the president. They come as Congress is considering its own proof of citizenship requirement for voter registration and as Trump has promised more actions related to voting and elections. I'm Julie Walker.
Germany's chief diplomat has described President Trump's effort to secure a truce in the 3-year war between Russia and Ukraine as deadlocked.
German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock arrives in Kyiv for an unannounced visit and says due to the deadlock between the US and Russia on forging a ceasefire deal, European allies' continued support for Ukraine in the war is absolutely crucial. Meanwhile, China's foreign minister has said it's encouraging talks between Washington and Moscow on finding a settlement in Ukraine are continuing. Baerbock also praised the resilience and resistance of the Ukrainian people, saying Putin wanted to conquer Kyiv and Ukraine in 3 days. After more than 3 years of the most brutal Russian aggression, it's more than clear Putin's plan has failed and has forced not only Ukraine but also Russia into a cruel war of attrition, which Putin's not winning. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
This is AP News. 3 soldiers missing in Lithuania have been found dead. AP correspondent Ben Thomas.
3 are gone, and 1 is missing.
President Trump telling reporters he's been informed 3 soldiers missing in Lithuania since last week have been found dead in an armored vehicle.
Really heavy, that lifted the heaviest equipment, and it would seem that the bank of the lake collapsed. You know, the weight is so big, and it was at night, and it was very cold weather, and ice, a lot of ice.
The conditions when we got out here on site were not like anything that we've ever had to dive through before.
Navy Lieutenant Eric Costello, part of the underwater team.
The amount of mud, diving in a peat bog, just complete zero viz, hard to move kind of diving.
As the president said, a 4th remains missing. The soldiers were on a tactical training exercise. I'm Ben Thomas.
I'm Haya Punjwani.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see increasing cloud cover here for today with a high in the mid-40s. Winds out of the east around 5 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. Tonight, a chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy with temperatures holding steady. By Wednesday, chance for showers and storms, cloudy, high of 70 degrees. Thursday, mostly sunny skies, a high of 58. Friday, chance for rain, late cloudy, high of 53. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 36.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-306-8158 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-306-8158. That's 800-306-8158. What do you have to lose? Call 800-306-8158. Again, 800-306-8158.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that will focus on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Progressives, welcome back to Choose Views and all of our humor, our funny. We've been really spicy today with the Mar-a-Lago face clip and Roy Wood Jr. And Devin's edited version of, if you're not going to get the work done, Democrats, then get out of the way and let other people get in the mix and do the work. So I can clean things up very quickly and respectfully, and nobody get their feathers ruffled too much on that, because it was designed to make a point about fighting. And we've got some fighters that are our guests in these next two segments. Make sure you guys are going to be plugged into our May 3rd anniversary broadcast at Max and Benny's in Northbrook. We hope you'll tune in that day between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. to hear Hal Sparks, Scott Duff, Joan Esposito, Patty Vasquez, and myself broadcasting live with special guests. And you can also be sure to visit heartlandsignal.com/university. Listen to me, anniversary, to check out the sound gallery that we posted. It includes Dick Kay's interviews and conversations with J.B. Pritzker and Lori Lightfoot, former Sunday host Brandon Johnson's conversations with Tony Preckwinkle, and Stacey Davis Gates, who might be joining us this week. But the point is, you can check out all kind of good stuff that we got going over there, going on at heartlandsignal.com/anniversary, not university. So, all right, fighters, people who get it, people who roll up their sleeves and get elbows deep in the process. And with us this morning is one of those folks, Executive Director of Fair Share America, none other than Kristen Kroll this morning, joining us here on Choose Views and our spicy conversations this morning. Welcome to the show, Kristen.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah, so you probably got, we've been a little spicy this morning, the edited versions of spiciness.
Well, I'm always game to pick up on the spicy. I think right now there's a lot of important things, and we should be provocative and pushing the limits. So thanks for including me in the conversation.
Absolutely. Well, you've included yourself because as one of the strongest voices right now as Executive Director of Fair Share America, you've made it clear to folks that that Americans, as is entitled in your article, in your op-ed, Americans know a bad deal when they see it. Now's the time to offer an alternative vision. Guys, you'll want to check that out over at heartlandsignal.com. It's an op-ed that Kristen contributed to us, to you guys. But take a moment, if you could, Kristen, and tell us a little bit about your background, a little bit about how you've ascended to this point in your career as being one of the leading voices with Fair Share America.
Well, I come to this work as I got involved in the political process as, honestly, a really fed-up mom who was fighting against cuts to my kids' schools over 25 years ago. And I'm a working mom of 5 kids. I'm a regular person. I am not an operative. I do not live in Washington, D.C. I did not get a fancy degree in poli-sci, didn't go to an Ivy League. I am just a regular working mom who sees the world that we live in and want to do work that gives voice to people like me all over the country who are angry and furious and fed up around a system that prioritizes wealth and power and greed over the needs of our families and our children and our veterans and our teachers. And this moment that we're in, I cannot tell you how this is so much bigger than one organization or myself. This is an uprising that has taken fire all across the country, and it is really a populist movement that we are saying enough is enough. We need our government to reflect our values, and Washington, D.C. politicians need to work for us and not the billionaire class. And it's really as simple as that.
Yeah. A couple things that when I compliment you on. Mother of 5. Listen, y'all, don't mess with the mom. Don't mess with the mom of 5. I'm just going to say that right out of the gate. Don't mess with the mom of 5. You might get yourself hurt. So first of all, compliments and kudos to you there for being a great mom.
Thank you.
You're absolutely, Kristen. So listen, you said something a moment ago that a lot of people are speaking to about not having that quote-unquote Ivy League degree and blah, 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 that people put a lot of unnecessary, inordinate value on. I'll take a Big Ten degree and someone with Midwestern fighting skills day in and day out because, that's not denigrating an Ivy League degree, but we have to remember, those of us that are in the Midwest, the upper Midwest, and other parts of the country, from a purely what's important to the country standpoint, exactly what you just said. And that is, there is an uprising that people need to be focused on. And that's one of the things that I'm so proud that you're doing. And in your op-ed, you speak loudly to that. And here's what it is for me, and you highlight this so well: the lack of investment in America is one of the biggest mistakes that we've made in America, whether it be the tax movement, whether it be just pure investment in the country. I go back to the early to mid 80s, and I remember talking with friends and family then about the fact that we weren't reinvesting in the country. We were talking a big game about how technology was going to change everything, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and make lives better and easier for people. But what we were missing at the time is a reinvestment in America, both in terms of education, in terms of on-the-job training, and all the rest. And that snowballed now into not reinvesting, has created this gap, but then giving tax breaks. And this is what I want you to kind of lean into: giving tax breaks to people that don't deserve them more than people who are this large, hardworking, middle-class group of people. So talk about that and talk about the research that you've done in that space.
Well, first of all, it's important to remember that these are our tax dollars. We, the American public, our working people, are paying into the tax system to support services that our families and communities rely on. Healthcare. We're talking about very fundamental things. Healthcare, food and nutrition, childcare, education, veteran services. These are not luxury items. These are the very things that get people from, day to day, help folks get ahead, build a strong middle class. And you're right. There's been 40 years of disinvestment under the banner of so-called trickle-down economics, where if we give our tax dollars away to rich people, the quote-unquote job creators, it'll somehow trickle down to the rest of us. And we know that's not true. This has been a myth and a lie that those of us who are old enough, like myself, this is something that was told to us and sold to us. And it's ridiculous. We know it in our own lives that this has not happened. We have an enormous wealth gap in this country that should not exist. The billionaires, and make no mistake, what is being proposed in Washington, D.C. and the GOP tax and budget plan is more of our tax dollars given to billionaires to further enrich them. And, again, these are the folks who have hijacked our government right now, the Elon Musks, the Trump friends. It's a very small circle of billionaires that will benefit. And at the same time, we're seeing millions and millions of people all across the country that would see deep impacts. And I think the American public has just said, we get it. This is enormously unfair. It's rigged. We're not going to take it. And we are fighting back in a way that, candidly, I've been doing organizing, Richard, for 25 years. I've never seen anything like this. I go all over the country. I'm hosting teletown halls. One, the American public really understands what this ripoff is, and they are not going to be silent. They are protesting, they are calling, they are writing their members of Congress. And that's the human data. And then we know from polling and the survey research, over 80% of Americans agree with us. I would use lots of spicy words to describe this. This is unfair, unpopular. This is unpopular. So any member of Congress that is looking at this, it's like, what are you thinking? These are your voters, your constituents, and you're going to go to vote to take away their health care? Like, are you bananas? So it's very hopeful time to see the American public standing together. And, I talked to people that voted for Trump that said, look, we were promised that he cared about working people like me, and then turn around and see this. They know this is a rigged system, and we're just not going to take it. And so Fair Share America, the organization that I'm so privileged to get to lead, is an organization that works all across the country. We are partnering with over 450 state-based organizations to make sure that real people have the opportunity to get in this fight. And sometimes we talk about the tax code, and I'm going to level with you. When people started talking to me about taxes, my first response was, this is years ago. I'm like, well, I don't understand the tax code. That's like you have to be a lawyer or you have to be an economist. But the truth is the tax is the through line that connects all the things we care about. It pays for the world that we want to live in. It builds the public good that we are trying to create for all people. And once you see the money, and this would be my message to the listeners this morning, follow the money. Once you see the money and how it is used to either better our lives or enrich these billionaires, you cannot unsee it. And the GOP understands the ROI. They understand how to use the tax code to manipulate the budget, to further take our money, our tax dollars, and put it in their pockets and their shareholders' pockets. And it's simply unacceptable, and we're not going to stand for it.
I love the word that I wrote down, Kristen, is fight. This morning, this is about fighting. Yeah. You're fighting. David Jolly and the clips that we played talked about fighting. One of the clips that we're going to probably play later in the show is in that same space. It's about fighting right now. And I want to come back to something and not ask you a question, but just make a statement. Warren Buffett and Mark Cuban get it in terms of billionaires that understand the power of paying their fair share of taxes. And Warren Buffett is, and I'm going to wreck the quote, but he's basically saying if the other billionaires paid their taxes in alignment with what our company's doing, I think he says the other 800, if other 800 companies paid their taxes in the manner in which we wouldn't have any of these issues as it relates to our deficits and such. But these two guys, they get it, and they happily pay their taxes because they understand something that a lot of the other guys don't get. And this is a statement that I've been making for a long time. Without these tax laws, tax abatements, tax credits, pass-throughs, and all the other fancy language, and the grants that are provided to the Musk and to, what's the guy that's the head of Amazon? Why am I drawing a blank on his name? Jeff Bezos.
Oh, our friend Jeff Bezos.
And
yes.
All of the people that have been given the label of they bootstrapped it up, without the tax support system of the United States of America on a federal and state level, they would not be where they are today. Hands down. Because neither one of them are geniuses in the sense that, oh my God, they created something out of the sky that's this. No, they had tax benefits that came out of our pockets. And then Bezos goes out and creates jobs that are frankly hazardous to the drivers. And the list goes on and on and on. But their wealth is built off of the backs of Americans, and that's where
Absolutely.
And where and what you're doing and why what you're doing is so important. These are not special guys; they're mediocre dudes that got exceptional amounts of support and tax credits from our country for them to do what they're doing. And that's why I appreciate what you said about fighting and the awareness. Once people see what's behind the curtain, they would be more and more enlightened. How did people do that? When you said that, I wrote down the word how. How is it that regular folks can be more plugged in and have, for lack of better words, an easier understanding of the tax code? Because I think a lot of people like you, they kind of go, oh my God, I don't want to even talk about that, think about that. It's bad, but I don't want to know the details. Help us out in that space.
Sure. So first of all, I'm just going to plug, if you want to know more about our organization and how to connect to an organizer in your state, it's www.fairshareusa.org. And we provide lots of resources on what is really in this GOP budget, how to talk to elected officials, how to organize events in your own community. But the most important thing that I would say is you don't have to be a tax policy expert. Don't get bogged down in feeling like you're not qualified to talk about your own life. This is not a policy fight. This is a values fight. This is a moral fight. And you do not have to know the tax code in your state or the federal government to be qualified to talk about the impact on your family. And that's what this is. And I feel like this word fight, Richard, it's really important because fighting is a hopeful posture. Fighting shows us that if we band together, that there is hope in numbers and that we can do something and that we have agency over our choices in our lives. And this is what we're pushing our elected officials to recognize. Like, you have to make a choice. Are you going to be on the side of us, the American public, working people, the families who have built this country through our work and our taxes? Or are you going to be on the side of billionaires? Are you going to give more of our tax dollars in handouts? And we can force that choice by getting involved. And again, it's fairshareusa.org. And then there are several big events on the horizon. This Saturday, April 5th, there's a massive uprising all over the country, the single largest day of protest since Donald Trump was inaugurated. It's called the Hands Off events. Hands off our Medicaid, hands off our taxes, hands off our programs. And you can go to the website and get plugged in all over the country. And it's, again, you don't have to be an expert on the tax code. You're already an expert in your daily life. You're seeing the impact. You know if you lose health care, what that downstream effect on your budget, on medical debt, on your child's ability to get their medication. And again, the right wing, they know the ROI of the tax code. They're so obsessed with it because they know that's where the money is. That's how they get rich. And you're right. These men, they can't make this much money on their own. Yes, you can get ahead in this country, right? We all believe that there is an American dream that we've bought into, that if we work hard, good work pays, we get to achieve a middle-class life. But you don't get to be a trillionaire, near trillionaire, just by working hard. It's impossible. So, again, we understand this. We are fighting back, and we're taking it to them. When we're asking our elected leaders, Democrats and Republicans, frankly, this is a populist movement. That's the other piece that I would say, is that from the ground, this is not just Democrats against Republicans in terms of voters and real people. We're all coming together and say, like, what the hell? This is rigged, and we're not going to take it.
And that's the message that I think is so important that folks hear. Kristen, we always have limited time, so we're going to have you back because you're a voice that people need to hear.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much.
Absolutely. The energy that you bring and the text that I'm getting from people says that we were truly blessed to have you this morning. I want to ask you a little bit about something that you were part of back in 2022, this Massachusetts millionaire tax. Do I have that correct? Talk about that and how the impact of that now and how that could spread and be effective throughout the rest of the country.
Absolutely. And I'm going to go just a tad wonky on you.
That's okay.
In Massachusetts, there was something called a flat tax. And a flat tax is everybody pays the same rate of taxes regardless of their income. So if you are a $20,000 a year low-wage worker or a millionaire in Massachusetts, you paid the same rate. It was in the state constitution. Illinois is the same. If you are listening in Illinois right now, Illinois has a flat tax, meaning everyone pays the same rate. It is nearly impossible to generate the type of revenue we need to build the society we deserve with a flat tax system. So that was the background. The millionaires tax was a ballot initiative, so citizens were able to vote on whether or not we thought millionaires should pay a modest 4% more on every dollar over $1 million. And the voters, again, this was 2022, midterm election, passed this. And since the passage of this bill, it is bringing in nearly $3 billion with a B. It's a number I can barely comprehend. $3 billion that is going to transportation, so improved roads, improved transit, education investments, both capital investments to modernize schools, make them healthier, and higher education. I believe over 25,000 students were able to attend college for free because of the investment. So these are the choices that we're making. Do we want to invest in our people, in our infrastructure, in our education system, or do we want to give millionaires and billionaires another handout? And Massachusetts is an incredible example. We saw the Lego Corporation move their headquarters. I mean, I think one of the things, the myth, is that this is bad for business. That's insane. The Lego company moved their headquarters to Boston after the millionaires tax and cited these investments in the workforce and in the infrastructure as being one of the key reasons to move jobs. So again, I don't understand the corporate America's thinking that if they starve us, if they impoverish us, if we don't have wages, we can't buy their stuff. I mean, I'd love to have a conversation with Mr. Bezos and say, how are we going to buy Amazon if we don't have money in our pockets? How is this good for business? How does this create jobs? And again,
and this is why
we're not idiots.
No,
we are not idiots.
Kristen, and this is why. See, you're about to get spicy. I can feel it ramping up in you, and that's a good thing.
I'm very spicy this morning, Richard. I'm very spicy.
So, Kristen, but listen, this is where and why. First of all, we're going to have you back because this is a conversation that more people. You didn't get too wonky there. I think folks got that one, and the way you broke it down was excellent. But there's a couple things I want to comment on that you said. This whole conversation around trickle down, and if the rich get tax breaks and blah blah blah, they're going to do all these great things. I've been asking for 40 years, prove it, because going back to Reagan, they've never proven that that actually happened. It's actually been proven wrong because of the destruction of the middle class. And the upper middle class is now feeling that too because they recognize, like you just said, well, I can't order all this stuff on Amazon because if they're taking away this piece of the revenue that I get from how I'm working and where my dollars are coming from because they've suppressed other support mechanisms, then that's come out of my pocket. And so this is why people have to be plugged into this. They cannot afford to bury their heads in the sand and go, well, I don't know enough about it. No, that's unacceptable, America. That's unacceptable. They have not proven to us, Kristen, that trickle down works. They haven't done it.
I mean, I would say we know the data. We know otherwise. We know it doesn't work.
Right.
And you don't have to be an expert. Look at your own life in the last 40 years. Are you and your neighbors better off with these policies? No. The answer is no. Have you seen supports and public good and services improve? No. We've disinvested from our people. We've disinvested from our workers. And there's a big reckoning. And it's right now, and it's happening all over the country.
Yeah, it definitely is. Leveling the playing. This is a statement, and then we'll wrap up and get you scheduled back in. But the reality is, Kristen. Reality is, leveling the playing field has always freaked out those who know that they're not as as strong and as great as they are. They're not the fastest, strongest, bestest in the room. When you level the playing field, that curtain gets pulled back to show that there's 100 Jeff Bezoses and Elon Musk's in the United States of America when you level the playing field. And that's the reason, I believe, at its core, that they don't want that to happen, because then they are exposed as not being that great after all. And I don't know if that's my opinion based on observation. And I don't know if you think that way or have thought about it that way, but they don't want the playing field level, because then the Kristens of the world and the Richards and the Devons and all the rest ascend and show them you're not that great after all, dude.
Oh, I'll keep my I have a lot of thoughts about these men that I've never met, a lot of opinions.
Whoa.
But what we're talking about right now is not even the wealth gap in this country between the haves and the have-not is the most extreme in my lifetime. Leveling the playing field, we're just trying to get a fair shot, Richard.
Yeah.
We're like way away from that. And again, the middle class is squeezed. That's like a dream now, to be in the middle class and be able to take one vacation a year and have paid time off and put your kid through college or community college. That's like barely attainable for most folks right now. So we're not talking about leveling the playing field. We're talking about making progress to closing the wealth gap and stop giving our money to these rich people. How do you spend nearly $1 trillion in a lifetime? They can't even spend it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just sitting in bank accounts.
Right.
So come on.
Exactly.
Do you really care about human beings or not? And that's what this fight is about. And I'm just grateful for the time this morning, and thank you for having me, and thank you to the listeners who are making your voices heard all over the country. And it does matter. It does matter. They are nervous. The GOP is nervous. They are telling their elected Republican representatives not to hold town halls. Do not talk to their constituents. And this is where we are so important, and the organizing matters. So again, thank you. Thank you to everyone who is doing your part. Because, I think the myth is that these guys are unstoppable, and it's wrong. We can totally stop them.
And that's why I'm so happy that we've been able to have you this morning. We will do this again sooner than later because it's an ongoing conversation. But for now, Kristen, let folks know how they can find you before we wrap up.
Yeah, please go to our website. It's www.fairshareusa.org, and you can get plugged into our organization, sign up for our e-newsletter. We provide lifetime updates, what's happening in Washington, D.C., and ways that you can get in the fight. And then we can connect you to local organizers all over the country so that you can participate in the local civic engagement and the democracy that we are, again, trying to push back against this regime in Washington. So thank you so much.
My pleasure, Kristen.
Have a good day.
Great to have you with us. Have a great day. We will talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right. Bye now. Man, oh man, guys. That's what we're talking about. Fight. Right there. We're going to take a quick break. 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
Must qualify for enrollment. Results may vary.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. Call now. 800-575-8924. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-8924. That's 800-575-8924. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see increasing cloud cover here for today with a high in the mid-40s. Winds out of the east around 5 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. Tonight, a chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy with temperatures holding steady. By Wednesday, chance for showers and storms, cloudy, high of 70 degrees. Thursday, mostly sunny skies, a high of 58. Friday, chance for rain, late cloudy, high of 53. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 35.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, Progressives, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Devin's trying to choke himself out in here with our microphones and cords all over the place, making me laugh. Wow. So, fighters. That's who we are. And great to have Chris and Carl with us this morning to talk about the inequities in the tax system and how that affects things directly, people's pocketbook, particularly when it comes to things like healthcare and childcare, and making sure that the folks in the community are properly represented. I'm excited about having her be more on our show. And having this type of a voice be one to speak to you guys and speak on this can be wonky issue, as she said, but one that we can break down. We've also got folks who raised in Chicago, currently living in the village of Olympia Fields, first African-American woman to serve as the mayor of the village of Olympia Fields, bringing money to the village, making sure that people in the Southland for over 40 years have had a representative and a voice to make absolutely certain that that community and that part of that community is governed well and has the support that it needs. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about our very own Representative Debbie Meyers-Martin from the 38th District. Welcome to Choose Views. Good morning, ma'am. How are you today?
Oh, I'm doing fine and very happy to be a guest on the show today.
Well, we're happy to have you with us. And man, oh man, you have been making it happen. And we really appreciate the hard work that you and so many other of our great representatives here in the state of Illinois have been able to do. Take a moment, if you can, Representative, and tell us a little bit about your background and the district that you represent.
Okay, happy to. I represent the 38th District in the South Suburbs, so that's 9 municipalities here in the Southland, Olympia Fields being one of them, but Country Club Hills, Hazelcrest, Oak Forest, Tinley Park, Frankfort, Richmond Park, Matheson. So I have a very diverse district, and it has been my homeland for a very long time, so I'm very proud to be that voice in Springfield. I started off, I think, like your first guest, where I just volunteered. My children were in school. I was a stay-at-home mom. I just volunteered at the school. I volunteered for the village. At that time, it was the village of, actually the city of Country Club Hills. And I was on the Human Relations Commission. I then kind of progressed to being the Community Relations Director in the village of Hazelcrest. I then worked for the State Treasurer's Office, and the Southland was my jurisdiction. I remember when I first moved to Country Club Hills, I was one of the first black families to move there, and the then mayor asked me to help in that transition of our suburbs becoming more diverse. And so that was quite a journey. I worked for the South Suburban Housing Center, their housing coordinator. So I've been in public service for a very long time.
And you've been very effective during that period of time, Representative, and that's one of the things that I think so many people are looking for in our leaders, is being effective in that role. I mean, you've been on various appropriations committees. You've been involved in so many different things that represent the constituency, of those 8 communities and or 8 municipalities that you're a part of. But you've particularly leaned into the conversation and the importance around improving our healthcare systems, our work within the hospital systems, and how our emergency systems need a little bit of, energy behind them. Talk a little bit about your bill that you're working to advance right now. I think it's 133. You tell us, if you could, a little bit about the bill and the work that you're working on there.
Okay, I'm happy to do that. House Bill 1332, which requires that a hospital that's licensed by the Hospital Licensing Act admits or checks in a patient, that they give that patient the opportunity to designate an emergency contact to be notified if that patient passes away or otherwise experiences a significant change in condition. And then if an emergency contact is identified, the hospital must contact that person and ask them how they would like to be notified, whether it's by phone or any other means that could be designated, but that if they'd like to be given that information that the patient has passed away or given the specifics of what has happened over the phone. Now, the importance of the consent is that the hospital would be revealing private information protected by HIPAA. So the patient has to give their consent that the hospital can release any of that private information. And this was, as I have told my constituents over and over again, they have the power to create legislation. This was a suggestion of a constituent because they had been in a situation where they got a phone call from the hospital. The hospital only said the patient's condition had changed, and so they're trying to rush to the hospital to get there before, in their thoughts, the eventuality of the patient passing away. And so they're running red lights, they're speeding, they're doing all types of things to get there in a hurry, when in reality that patient had already passed away. Mm-hmm. And so it just was suggested that, the hospital let the emergency contact or the caregiver know, but again, it had to be a consent from the patient.
So it's already enough of a tragedy and a bit of sadness because not every time someone passes is it quote unquote a happy ending, if you will. I don't know if that's really the appropriate wording to use. But it's certainly, I think, important for us to help the transition of that conversation and that communication be as reduced in pain as possible, I guess, to kind of throw those words together. And you've seen that. And how are you helping folks that are your constituents navigate this conversation?
Well, certainly I'm taking every opportunity to share information about the bill, certainly working in Springfield with my colleagues, getting co-sponsors so that they can also share the information about just what the bill accomplishes. And in Springfield, I have discovered that so many times there are so many pieces of legislation that you can't possibly keep track of them all unless someone brings it to your attention. Somebody, directs you to that bill so that you can read the language and then understand what exactly is going on, in that piece of legislation. So, those are just a few ways that, I'm able to share that information. I also, do a newsletter. We have town hall meetings. I love to go and talk to homeowners associations, just about what's going on in Springfield so that they are informed. I mean, that is part of my job, is to make sure that the people who I represent are informed about what is going on in the state and how they can speak up and be counted in terms of their voice being heard.
Our previous guest said kind of the same thing about it can get wonky, and bills and legislation can be wonky and sometimes very, very detailed. But your point is well taken in terms of communication is so important. The more that you as a legislator and take that on and make it known, the easier it is for voters and folks in the community to know what's really happening in Springfield with legislation. So that's great to hear you're taking that position. How does this bill and this thought process, because there's a lot of stress on the hospitals, but how does this help the hospital and their administrators when it comes to communicating the transition of a family member?
Well, I'm happy to say that the Illinois Hospital Association is in support of this bill and actually provided an amendment. And so I think that they are going to take on, as part of the messaging, take on the information piece about letting patients know that they will have that option if they are admitted to the hospital. The other thing that I have heard is that when the bill began to, gather some energy, there were people who realized that they lived alone and that they needed to think about who would be their emergency contact or how they would let the hospital know that they have a designated caregiver or emergency contact or legal representation that they would want to be consulted in the event that they were admitted into the hospital. And I'm happy to say that the Hospital Association also began to address if a person is admitted to the hospital and they're unconscious and cannot provide, a designated consent for an emergency contact, that the hospital would also take that into consideration and they would give, sort of an amount of time that person could possibly provide an emergency contact, or they would be designated, the hospital, to reach out to that person's legal representative.
Okay, I get it. So the hospitals are on board with this because they recognize that the important thing here is good communication for all parties involved, and that's good to see. So this may be a slightly different direction question. Are there folks that are in opposition to this? And I guess if there are, what is their opposition?
Well, I, fortunately, have not heard of any opposition. Certainly when this bill was in committee, there were several questions about many aspects to this process. But I think that through the amendments that were provided by the Hospital Association, we were able to address many of those things. So I think at this point, we probably do not have any opposition because we have done our due diligence in making the language clear within the bill.
Okay, I get it. So there's allies more so than adversaries in this space, because if there's another thing that we all have in common is that we will transition, and then someone has to be aware of that and do the best they can with handling that transition. That's great to hear. Representative Meyers-Martin, tell us about other bills that you have on your, as I say, your whiteboard that you're working on that are important to your area at this point in time.
Oh, I'm happy to do that. Well, from my days at the Treasurer's Office and being a liaison to chambers of commerce and business associations, I now have a bill. It is the income tax small business tax credit, and that is just to give small businesses assistance, because the property taxes are so high in my district, but in many parts of the state. So that was one of my bills. I also am working with the gaming agents and helping them get their retirement credentials. I'm also I have a park district bill that assists them in competitive bidding and kind of releasing and relaxing some of the guidelines for bidding on equipment and other elements at the park district.
Right.
I have an alopecia awareness bill that was brought to me by a constituent, but it makes September the Starring Alopecia Awareness Month in the state of Illinois, and it would be an annual awareness. And what we found is that when we have those types of awareness months, it brings in additional contributions and research for that particular condition. So that's another one of my bills. And then we also were trying to work with the Housing Authority to create an emergency housing assistance program, because I get so many calls from people who are in danger of being evicted that they have not received their eviction notice. And so they want to get ahead of the crisis, but the Housing Authority only has assistance for if you have actually received an eviction notice. So this bill was kind of addressing that void in the policy of the Illinois Housing Authority.
So it's a way to kind of, for lack of better words, preempt that may be inevitability of being evicted, so that folks have some support going into that very, very tough conversation and happening in their lives. That's brilliant. That really is brilliant. So I got to give you that. The small business tax credit. What was the genesis of that? I know you said that with regard to the high property taxes, but what was the makeup of that? Where did that come from?
Well, along with high property taxes for homeowners, commercial property taxes are extremely outrageous as well. So we have found that businesses will leave the south suburbs, and they may go to a different county, they may go to a different state like Indiana, because the taxes are cheaper in those particular areas. And so economic development then becomes an issue. And as a former mayor, I know how crucial it is to have every tool in your tool belt to attract business and economic development to your municipality or to the region. And so property taxes is one of the deterrents for businesses to locate in our community. So this was just an effort to give businesses a little assistance in, being able to remain solvent and successful in their desired location. It currently is in the Revenue Committee, which all property taxes and income tax bills go, and so we're working, very feverishly to get that to the finish line this session.
That's exciting. That really is. Your constituents seem to be providing you with a lot of, or certainly some substantial ideas and thoughts. You've mentioned at least 2 or 3 where it came from one of your constituents in terms of new legislation that you proposed. So you sound like that kind of leader that listens to the people that you lead so that you have an idea of what's really important. You're going, as they're saying on a national level, the Democratic Party needs to go to where the people are. And it sounds like, Representative Meyers-Martin, that you're doing just that. That you're going to where the folks are and getting it from them. That's got to feel pretty good.
Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate the compliment, because I have made an effort ever since arriving in the General Assembly to be accessible to the people that live in my district, or in fact the entire state of Illinois, but specifically my district, because I did want them to know that they have the opportunity to be engaged, and it's very important to be engaged, and that I recognize the importance of their voice. And so I'm seeing that that's, finally becoming effective and coming to fruition, that I am hearing more from residents and constituents about legislation, whether they oppose it or they support it or if they want to create it.
Yeah. That's great. Well, Representative Debbie Meyers-Martin from the 38th District here in Illinois, letting us know how important it is to be engaged, but as a leader and as an elected official, how important it is to be there to listen, to take those items forward in terms of bills and legislations. How can folks find you? How can they get involved or reach out or say, hey, Rep, what about this? How can they come out?
Well, my district office is located in the village of Matheson, and that phone number is 708-833-7010. And then my email address is staterepdebbiemm@gmail.com. And so those are just only two of the ways. But, people Google me all the time, and they come up with my Springfield phone number, my Springfield address. So it's pretty easy to find me, and I certainly welcome input from your listeners, and that is in part why I'm so happy to be on the show, because we have to spread the word, and by any means possible. So, I'm very happy to be here.
Well, we're happy to have you with us as well, and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you got a lot of work in front of you this today and the rest of this week, but thank you so much, Representative Meyers-Martin, for being with us this morning. Have a great day and a great rest of the week. And oh, by the way, happy April 1st.
Well, happy April 1st to you, too. And, of course, for everyone, remember, it is Election Day.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. Thank you.
And many of the local races are extremely important, because those are boots on the ground and people representing, your everyday life concerns.
Absolutely. Thank you for being with us this morning. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chu. I enjoyed being your guest.
Absolutely. Have a good day now. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
Man, I haven't heard anybody refer to me as Mr. Chu in a long time. Do we have time to squeeze Earl in real quickly then? And we keep it quick. Earl, welcome to the show. You got a half a second. What's going on this morning?
All right, buddy, not a problem. All I wanted to do was reinforce some of your conversations this morning by saying that we are in a marathon and not a sprint, and we have to always realize that we really can't stop and think the fight is over, because the right is going to keep coming at us, and so we have to always be prepared to keep fighting. All right? Thank you for taking my call, bro. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Earl. Have a great day. And, Earl is right. Earl is right in his comment. It is a marathon. It's not a sprint. We have to link up with people who might be sprinters and those who might be marathon runners. And all of the above is important right now. But in the bigger picture, Earl is right. We got a little bit of a slog here, but let's do it with the energy of a Representative Debbie and do it with the energy of Kristen, who was with us earlier, Kristen Kroll. They are, right there in the front lines doing the work, and we appreciate them being with us this morning. A lot of times I laugh that folks get up this early to be guests on the show, but I am humbled by the fact that folks will take the time to do that. All right, listen, we are coming to the end of the show, and I hope that if you guys want the clips that we played earlier, including the Mar-a-Lago face with the profanity and all that good stuff in there, we'll send it to you. If you want the David Jolly clips, we can get those to you. And most definitely, Representative Melanie Stansbury showing the ineptitude and incompetence of Comer in that hearing. We can get those to you. Just send me an email at Richard, because a couple people asked me earlier, what's your email again? You have to stop saying it. It's Richard at WCPT820.com. Looking forward to being with you guys tomorrow. As always, take a deep breath and make your life count. We'll see you tomorrow.
Are you tired of talking to yourself? We can get you an audience on the radio. You can produce and host your own radio show on one of our 2 stations. Please call 773-792-1121. That's 773-792-1121 and ask for Mark. Limited space available.
Thanks to our loyal WCPT listeners, the WCPT 20th anniversary broadcast is officially sold out. But you can still enjoy the broadcast by listening to WCPT Radio on Saturday, May 3rd from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Hal Sparks will kick things off at 11 a.m., then hand it off to WCPT hosts Richard Chu, Joan Esposito, Patty Vasquez, and Scott Duff at 1 o'clock.